meteorologist Matthew Carter with your forecast for Wednesday, January 28th. So, starting here, looking at the conditions as of 10 a.m. this morning. Uh, at DC, there is a temperature of 19 degrees with winds out of the northwest. Um, as you can see here, temperatures very cold throughout much of the country. The Northeast, a lot of temperatures around 10 degrees. Then out to the Midwest, temperatures in the single digits, areas such as Indiana, Illinois. So very cold temperatures. This cold pattern remains in place and doesn't look to really be going anywhere anytime soon. You can see a stationary front out here in the Great Plains region, um, but not nearly as active weather now as there was previously this weekend. Um, Looking here at the current conditions right now, um, at Dulles Airport, um, temperature of 21 degrees, no real measured winds right now there. At National Airport at 22 degrees, light winds out of the northwest. College Park at 23, Gaithersburg 26. Um, Going further south, Richmond at about 26 as well, I believe. Oh, sorry. Yeah, Richmond is at 26. Um, you can see a little bit of precipitation, a little bit of snow out in West Virginia right now. But most of the region remains dry. A little bit of lake effect way farther out in Michigan by Lake Michigan, um, as well. Moving along from there and looking at what we'll be looking at in our area over now in the near future. Just very cold temperatures remain. Highs today likely into the 20s, potentially probably like the middle 20s. This model brings it up to 23. This is the HERA high resolution model. Lows tonight get down potentially. This model brings it into the single digits and down to, yeah, this model brings it down to the negatives. I don't buy this model at all. We've seen this the last few days where some models have brought it really cold, and it hasn't gotten this cold. This brings it to -1 DC, which really I don't think will happen. So I wouldn't pay too much stock into this model, but nonetheless, it will get very cold, like potentially into the single digits, um, potentially 10 or single digits, 8, 9 degrees tomorrow morning. Suburbs a bit cold. Suburbs, especially likely in the single digits by tomorrow morning. But I doubt it will get as cold as this. Um, and just going out the next day or two, highs likely in the 20s and lows stay. They won't be this cold. Lows likely in the single digits to around 10 degrees, as I previously mentioned. Not this cold. This is just something to look at, but it's bringing extreme cold air that just hasn't happened, and I doubt will happen into the future, to be honest with you. Uh, so it's a model to look at, but sometimes it's too extreme with its temperatures. Um, Going into today, though, as you can see, um, an area, a little, so snow begins to develop, some light snow showers in our area, potentially later on this afternoon. This is by around 3 p.m. It looks like this is now impacting Frederick County, Washington County, Maryland, out into West Virginia. Um, you can see that snow I showed you in West Virginia. You can also see that um, sort of around here on the radar or on the model as well. And then that area of snow with a lot of lift, with a decent bit of lift today. Um, uh, that'll partially lead to the development of um, snow showers, uh, sort of higher levels of vorticity, it's called in meteorology, um, moving into our region. With these snow showers developing, but by 3 p.m. around the Frederick County area, um, continuing to develop by around 4 p.m., now moving into Montgomery County, and then by 5 p.m. moving into the district, um, and also areas like Baltimore. Uh, as quickly as it will develop, though, it'll move out of the region by around 7, 8 p.m. tonight. So just a concern with potentially the evening commute this evening, but nothing major. This model is bringing around zero point 0.2 inches to DC, zero point 0.4 inches further north. So just around potentially a third of an inch, maybe up to a half an inch of snow. So a light coating of snow, but not a lot, according to this model. Looking at another model, the rapid refresh model, it's bringing about a half an inch to DC. So as I mentioned, sort of a light snow. Um, Moving further along from there, um, looking at sort of the American model for temperatures, because I feel like the American model has been recently picking up on temperatures better than the European. The European's another one that's bringing those extremely cold, potentially 0 or below temperatures that haven't happened and just have been continuing to be wrong. The American model sometimes it has a lot of problems and you can't always rely on it, but for temperatures recently it's been doing better, so I look at it for that. Um, as you can see, lows around 10 degrees most evenings recently. Highs getting into the 20s, potentially low to mid 20s. Then by this weekend, sort of similar pattern, but now likely very windy conditions with an area of low pressure moving off the sort of Outer Banks, North Carolina coast, and up through and out way out to the ocean. But that'll create a lot of wind in our area if it even if there isn't snow. And I feel like the chances of snow are, as of now, not very high, but it's something to stay tuned on. Temperatures still in the teens, getting up, and then by early next week, as I mentioned, most highs would be in the 20s most days through this week into this weekend. Then by early next week, potentially now moving up into the 30s for highs and potentially getting above freezing for the first time in a long time. Lows again in the 20s on Tuesday night before temperatures get into potentially the mid to upper 30s when Tuesday later on in the day. Wednesday, we're starting to see warmer conditions into the 40s. So this cold pattern will remain for a little while, but we do have a trend of at least some warmer weather ahead with some days temperatures getting into the 40s. Um, still won't get much warmer than that, upper 30s, 40s going into February, but we definitely have a warming trend ahead compared to at least what it is now. Not necessarily warm, or even for this time of year, I wouldn't say it's warm. It's probably still around average temperatures, but considerably warmer than what we have right now. Um, then looking at the sort of precipitation, um, and moving along with that for later on. As you can see, this is the area of low pressure I mentioned that would be developing later on this weekend. Some snow further south of our region, potentially a brief period of snow, sort of just moving right along our area, bringing a light coating, while a very strong area of low pressure develops off the ocean and moves way out to sea. So it won't impact our area, at least in terms of precipitation, very much. As of now, it looks like. I mean, this is still subject to change, as it says. Um, Even the National Weather Service has been mentioning this isn't something you can be confident of at this point, given that this system, as you can see, is on Sunday. Um, so it's something to watch out for. And if the track does change a little, move a little further to the west, you know, the snow right here in Easton, on the eastern shore, the snow in southern Maryland, um, the snow down by Richmond, it could push a little over, and that could mean snow here. But as of now, it's just looking like um, most likely it won't snow here, and that's what almost all the model output is showing right now. Um, so that's sort of what the general consensus is. As you can see, according to this, the American model, um, the Eastern Shore, some areas the eastern shore of Maryland, around 3 inches. Right along the coast around Ocean City, around 14 inches. Right around DC, though, zero point 0.1 inch. Anywhere further north of DC, nothing. South of DC, you move down into Richmond and it's a foot. So as you can see, there's a huge sort of difference in amounts depending exactly where you live. So this is something we're uncertain of. And then moving further along after that event, there doesn't look to be any major storms ahead into early February as of now. And just showing you it on the European, because that was just the American model, and we need to watch out for this storm. And the European model has recently picked up on the storm, they feel like better than the American model. So let's look at it on the European. You can see it's out to the ocean here, um, continuing to move out to sea, impacting the Carolinas, and potentially areas in Virginia. It strengthens very rapidly, becomes a 965 millibar system, but moves out to sea and doesn't impact our area much, at least in terms of precipitation. We could see some winds from this event, however, given um, how rapidly this low pressure system strengthens and the gradient of pressure with very deep low pressure to our east and much higher pressure right here in our immediate region. That sort of pressure gradient will lead to potentially significant winds in our area. And then just sort of moving along, you can see there's not really any major potential winter storms ahead after that, also on the European. And then just going into what we're looking at for the next 5 days, the 5-day forecast I wrote up. Uh, so as I mentioned today, temperatures likely still in the 20s again as well, with that potential period of a brief period of snow, potentially up to a half an inch in our region, which is something to watch out for in the late day commute. And the National Weather Service issued a potential um, they mentioned how that's something potentially to watch out for in your commute today as well, um, with that brief period of snow that could potentially, given it's so cold, it could stick quickly if any snow does fall. But moving along from today, tomorrow, looking at mostly sunny skies, winds out of the northwest at around 10 miles per hour with a high of 22, and I went with a low of 9 degrees. Given the um, fact that some models, such as the one I was previously showing you, that high resolution model, have gone so low, but that hasn't happened. I didn't go with that, and I don't think that'll happen. I think it'll remain around upper single digits to around 10 degrees each morning, as what what the general pattern has been previous days, and there's no reason that would change given that the weather pattern is really pretty similar tomorrow and Friday to what it was, Monday and Tuesday. So looking at Friday, a low of 10, a high of 22 again. Winds out of the northwest at around 5 miles per hour. So as I mentioned, not a significant change. Then by Saturday, we could see some cloudy skies, just given that low pressure system that'll begin to develop off the coast, um, and will be by later on Saturday into Sunday will be strengthening rapidly as it moves way out to sea. But we could be impacted by some cloud cover due to that event. Winds out of the north, a high temperature of 20 and a low of 14 degrees. Moving along to Sunday, mostly cloudy skies, given that storm as I mentioned. High of 25, low of 12 degrees. Winds out of the northwest at 20 miles per hour with potential higher wind gusts. Given that storm previously mentioned, it could create significant winds in our area, which is something to watch out for and be aware of. By Monday, mostly sunny skies, winds out of the northwest at 10 miles per hour, a high of 32 and a low of 17. So we'll be beginning to see a warm up as we get into next week from the very frigid temperatures of this week. So that just about covers the weather for the next 5 days. I hope you enjoyed this video. Feel free to leave a like and subscribe to this channel if you are new. I really appreciate all the support. Thank you so much.